Hello again, everyone. Cowboy Star here. Coming back at you. That's right, we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Before I get started, I'd like to remind you all to be sure to subscribe to the channel. Do appreciate all those who have done so already. Boy, let's get down to it. The Cowboys are still going the cheap route. That's right. Had every opportunity to spend money, spend a little more money, and get a real top-notch head coach. But no, what did we do? We stayed within and promoted Bryan Schottenheimer. I don't know Bryan Schottenheimer that well at how he will be as a head coach, but I can look back and see that he's been with 10 to 15 teams in about a 10-year or 12-year career in the NFL as a coach. He's never been a head coach. He was a hot commodity back about 10 years ago as an offensive coordinator when he was with Seattle and Pete Carroll. But why didn't he take the job? He was offered the Carolina job, I think, back then, and he decided not to take it. Never has been a head coach. But this is Stephen Jones that is coercing his dad into these things. Cat boy, the cheap end of the Joneses. He didn't want Deion Sanders. You know why he didn't want him? Because he knew that if he brought Deion Sanders there, it would be like it was back in '94. He'd have to pay him. And if Deion would have came, Deion would have wanted the top coaches. They would have had to pay them. He would have wanted the top free agents. The Cowboys would have had to pay them. And the draft picks. He would have had a big say on the draft picks. And Stephen Jones knew this, but he'd rather lose and still be, mediocre than after 30 years of not being in the NFC Championship or Super Bowl. Your dad is 82 years old. He's not getting any younger, folks. You would rather promote from within since you lost McCarthy. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. Deion would have took the job. Michael Irvin, he's a close friend of his. He said, if offered, Deion would take the job. But Stephen Jones knew the minute they inked him pen to paper, they were going to have to also come up with the green. And a lot of people were saying, well, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, they may be racist. Maybe that's why because they've never had a black head coach. They're not racist. They only see one color, and that's green. It's not black or white. They see one color, and that's green. They want to get more for less. That's Stephen Jones' philosophy. More for less. And he's got his dad, Jerry Jones, drinking the Kool-Aid. He has got Jerry Jones drinking the Kool-Aid, folks. I never thought I'd see Jerry Jones not a riverboat gambler. You just look at this. Okay, they thought Mike McCarthy was coming back. They thought Mike McCarthy would settle for a 2 or 3 year contract. Mike McCarthy pulled the rug out from under him. He did not accept that offer. He didn't want to be a lame duck coach again. He didn't want to put his family in that position again. He didn't want to put his staff in that position again. And he went on ahead and bowed out. And he bet on himself that he could get another coaching job. Well, it's not looking that great for Mike McCarthy. There's only one other team that he could possibly get a job with, and that's the Saints. I think he's interviewing with them tomorrow. But if you don't hire back McCarthy, you know, I never thought they would promote someone from within. I thought we were going back out and starting over and, you know, getting another regime in here. But no. They're listening to Dak. They're listening to Stephen Jones. See, Dak doesn't want to learn a new offense. He's lazy. Dak wants to keep the same philosophy, the same offense. He would have took Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore did the same thing. They interviewed with him for less than an hour. They had a 3-hour window they could have interviewed him. The interview only lasted about 45 minutes. And Kellen Moore said, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to go back to this anymore. They were probably throwing stipulations at him left and right. Jerry's wanting Jason Witten to be on the staff. The man couldn't even do announcing, and he wants him to be on the staff. Yeah, he was a good tight end, but does that correlate to being a good coach? We don't know. We're dealing in guessing here, the guessing game. That's what the Cowboys are all about. Taking gambles on people that aren't qualified. Now, I'm not knocking Schottenheimer. I don't know. I don't know. He may turn out to be the second coming of Jimmy Johnson. Who knows? He's never been a head coach. But it's just the aesthetics of how the Joneses are doing things that really get my goat. And I know it gets a lot of Cowboys fans too. Because the Joneses know that the Cowboy fans are diehard fans. They're going to stay fans. They're going to buy the merchandise, buy the tickets, buy the memorabilia. They're going to be there regardless, thick or thin. And they know that. And meanwhile, they're raking in all the cash. And here we are as Cowboy fans having to suffer the consequences. Now, one Michael Irvin got on his YouTube channel the other day. I don't know if y'all heard about it. And he really blew up on Jones and the Cowboys. He said, it's all about comfortability for the Cowboys. Keeping someone in the building that they know, that knows how they operate. He goes, when I played, he goes, we went to the game, the away games the night before. We spent the night in the hotel. We talked about the game in our rooms. We were all about the game. We were away from our families. Damn, sleeping in your own bed. He said, we were all about winning. And the Cowboys right now are all about comfort. What's easy. The easy way out. Being cheap. Not spending. Depending on the draft only to get top players to fill holes. Your draft is supposed to be used to plug the holes once you get out of free agency and you acquire people in free agency. You can't expect college players 9 times out of 10 to come in and play like an NFL pro the first year and know all the ins and outs of what it takes to be in the pros. It takes a while. But no, the Cowboys don't work that way right now. They're all about money. The green. Michael Irvin said that he was so disappointed it took him a few days to even talk about this. He said, I love Jerry to death. He said, but what are you doing? You could have had Deion Sanders. Deion wins everywhere he goes. It's a fact. Now, you would have had to pay Deion. You would have had to pay him top dollar. He would want to be one of the top paid head coaches. Rightfully so. And he would have also demanded a little more control than past coaches have had. Jerry would have had to step back. Steven would have had to step back and let the man cook. Bring in free agents. Sign good free agents. The Cowboys, at the push of a few switches, can get 80 to 90 million in cap space in this offseason. They just have to restructure Dak, restructure CD. There's several. The whole team is just about free agents, unrestricted free agents. This team's going to look a lot different this year. Zach Martin's probably going to retire. That's $14 million right there. You'll still probably have to pay him a percentage of that this year, but you will save some on Zach Martin if he retires. Rico Dowdle, he's going to be a free agent. But we're picking number 12 in the draft. Now, Bryan Schottenheimer is big on the run game. Will he go for the top running back on the board on the first pick? The Cowboys' first pick in the first round, number 12. Ashton Jeanty, if he's there and the Cowboys don't take him, that is a big mistake. I think they should take Jeanty if he's there in the first round. If he's already gone, Amarian Hampton out of Ohio State. He's just as good, if not better, type of back. They need a good running back. But in order to have a good running back, you got to pull some strings in free agency and bring in a couple of good offensive linemen. I don't care if you got Superman back in the backfield. If you don't have a good offensive line, there's no holes. He's not going to go very far. They had their chance to get Derrick Henry last year. And what did they do? They didn't spend anything. Now, going back to McCarthy, I found out some things, too, of why Jerry didn't do anything last year for McCarthy. Do you remember when we had Amari Cooper? McCarthy didn't like Amari Cooper. There were some things about Amari Cooper he didn't like. He didn't like his outspokenness. He didn't like the practice. He didn't like that about him. There were several things that he didn't like about Amari Cooper. And he wanted Amari Cooper out. So Jerry Jones said, okay, you sure you want him out? He goes, yeah, I want him out. Well, okay, well, I'm not giving you another top receiver. I'm not giving you anything else to help this team. If you're that good without Amari Cooper, you can figure out a way to win without him. And that's why Jerry Jones didn't do anything last year. He knew Mike McCarthy was on his last year of his contract. He wanted to let him go after the Green Bay game. But he's so cheap, he didn't want to pay Mike McCarthy to sit on the beach for a year and get paid. So he let it go for another year, and he said, hey, if you're good enough I'm not going to spend any more big money. So if you're good enough to make it and have the record you did the year before without Amari Cooper, I'll think about signing you the next year. And that's exactly what happened. All this was revealed by Bobby Belt of 105.3 The Fan. Go look it up. The Cowboys want to rely on the draft. They do not, by any means, want to spend money on free agents, the top free agents. They think they're that good at drafting that they can go to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship by just merely drafting good players. It's not going to happen. You got the Eagles and you got the Commanders in the NFC Championship out of your own division. If that's not enough to make you want to go out and get a great coach and change the way you're running this operation, that tells me you just don't give a damn. You don't want to win. You don't care if you win. If I was the owner and two teams, my rivals in my own division, were in the NFC Championship, I haven't been there in 30 years, I think it's time to look in the mirror and say, I'm doing something wrong. It's like the old thing. You do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. And it's never going to happen. Jerry will never win another Super Bowl as long as he lives. Not doing it this way. Michael Irvin, he said that they would get in the hotel room before the games, on the away games. He said they'd play cards. They'd all talk. They'd talk about what they had to do to win. Nothing else matters but winning. That's the way it's got to be. Right now, it's not that way. It's all about me. It's all about the individual player. It's all about their podcasts. It's all about their brand. It's not about the Cowboys and being a winner, being in the Super Bowl. And that comes from the top down. It doesn't look like Mike Zimmer's going to be back this year as defensive coordinator. They're talking about Matt Eberflus being the next defensive coordinator. Bones Fossil has already left. He went to the Tennessee Titans, and the rumor is now he's trying to trade for Brandon Aubrey, our kicker. I hope and pray they don't let that happen. He's a weapon in himself. But I wouldn't put it past Stephen Jones. If he can save a buck, he'd trade him in a heartbeat. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Michael Parsons' contract is coming up this year. They're going to have to sign Michael Parsons. They've got most of their money tied up in three players. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Parsons. But there's still ways that the Cowboys could manipulate this cap to get some good free agents, and mixed with the draft picks that we're going to get, still make an improvement, a big improvement this year, if we can stay healthy. Last year we were ravaged with injuries the whole year. So leave in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about this fiasco. What do you think about Bryan Schottenheimer being the new head coach? There's a lot of questions to be answered, from the draft to the new head coach, to the staff, to all these things that I've talked about behind the scenes with the Joneses. It's hard to be a Dallas Cowboy fan, let alone a YouTuber. It's really hard. It's been hard for me to even want to make a video lately. It's hard to get excited over what we're seeing here. Even Michael Irvin, and he knows, he's been there before. It's not like he's just spouting off at the mouth. He knows what it takes to be a champion. And the Joneses just flat don't care anymore. It's just got to that point where all they're interested in is the green. It's unfortunate, folks. But let's give him a chance. Let's see. I'm sure not going to rip the star off my chest. I've been a Cowboy fan all my life. I just hope and pray that Bryan Schottenheimer can make everybody, change everybody's mind, and maybe he can do a good job. We'll see. With that being said, y'all enjoy the games today, and we'll catch you next time. I'm out.